SubhanAllah, now we're on to section 3 of the sound heart. And as you can see, the color behind me has changed once again. New section, new color, and this time it's more upbeat. It's not red anymore. Now we're going into the green. This is going to be a nice part of the program. But anyway, as we mentioned in the very last lesson at the end of the diseases of the heart, we've now covered every single disease of the heart. And these diseases of the heart are the things that make up bad character, bad mannerisms. These are the things that literally rip your iman away from you and they destroy your relationship with Allah. But now that you guys have the knowledge to fix the bad, it's now time to learn how to increase the good. And this is exactly what the maqamat are. Now, maqamat is a plural for maqam. So when you hear maqamat, it means maqam, but multiple maqams, if that makes sense. And these different maqamat are essentially like spiritual stations that when you reach them, they transform you from deep within in every conceivable way, for the better, of course. Your character improves, your mannerisms improve, your behavior improves, your mentality improves, and this improvement continues more and more and more until you literally live life the same way the prophets lived life. SubhanAllah. You're actually working to become exactly how like the prophets were. So it's something very, very big. But not only that, as you guys reach maqam after maqam after maqam after maqam, your relationship with Allah becomes like no other. It literally supercharges. The more you climb this spiritual ladder and the closer you become to Allah, you become eventually one of His awliya, which means one of Allah's close friends. Imagine that, subhanAllah. Imagine being a close friend of Allah. And Allah references these people in the Quran. And He says, أَلَا إِنَّ أَوْلِيَاءَ اللَّهِ لَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ. Unquestionably, for the close friends of Allah, there will be no fear concerning them, nor will they grieve. No fear and no grief for these people. Meaning Allah has your back. Allah has reserved for these awliya pure contentment in the dunya and in the akhirah. As for the dunya, all of these day-to-day anxieties and stresses that people feel and they go through, they don't apply to this person. Allah has your back, whether that be in your safety, in your provisions, in your relationships, in your children, in your iman, everything. Allah will take care of all of your dunya. And as for your akhirah, all of the horrors of that day, where people will be walking around as if they're drunk, but they haven't drank a single sip of alcohol, and their hairs are going to turn grey out of stress and fear, and the pregnant will give birth prematurely because of how scared she is. The day where there's literally 50,000 years of standing, a day of accountability, a day where every single one of us are going to walk on the sirat where hellfire is directly underneath us. All of those horrors of that day, they do not apply to awliya of Allah. Meaning, Allah is going to make that experience easy for you. He has your back. And at the end of all of that, waiting for you is Jannah, your new eternal home of perfection and joy. And so this point of becoming a wali of Allah should be enough to make every single one of us treat these maqamat incredibly seriously. And a way to imagine everything that we're studying in this program and everything that's coming together, it's like a garden that's been neglected. Imagine a huge garden, but there's weeds everywhere and the grass has overgrown and there's moss on the walls. It's just like you look at it, you just do not feel any goodness to it. It just looks grim. Treating the diseases of the heart is like removing the weeds, cutting the grass, cleaning the walls. But when you do that and you clean the garden, what's it going to be? It's just going to be a flat plane of grass, right? And so to make your garden beautiful, you begin planting flowers and trees of every color and every kind, and it brings fruits and vegetables, and then it looks beautiful. And it's this act of beautifying your garden which is like implementing the maqamat. Once you treat the diseases, it's not enough. You now want to beautify your heart, beautify your character, beautify everything so that you rise and climb this spiritual ladder. But just like the seeds, they take years of care and patience and consistency to see them grow and flourish. Imagine you plant a seed. Is it going to turn into a tree straight away? No, you have to feed it with water. The next day, more water. The next day, make sure the soil is clean. You have to be consistent. If you neglect it, the seed's going to die, right? The maqamat is the exact same. It's not an easy task and it's not a quick task at all. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا. As for those who struggle in our cause. Look at how Allah said struggle. then he said, we will surely guide them to our way. There has to be struggle. And this struggle is years of patience, years of effort, years of consistency. But the beautiful thing is that when you finally get to a maqam and you achieve this maqam, it becomes an integral part of you and it doesn't leave you. Because you've worked so hard, Allah gives you this maqam, which means that khalas, you've got it and it's not going to leave you. And achieving a maqam happens in 3 stages, okay? And this is me giving you now the roadmap so that you know exactly what to expect. Stage 1 is all about gaining knowledge of the maqam, okay? Gaining knowledge of the maqam. And this is self-explanatory. How can you achieve a maqam if you don't even know what the maqam is, right? And that's what these classes are about. These classes are designed to give you the knowledge on every maqam so you know what to do and when to do it and how to achieve it essentially. Once you have the knowledge, then you start stage 2. Stage 2 is where you apply the knowledge. And this is the stage that takes years upon years upon years. This stage is where you're going to be working very hard, striving to apply what you've learned, struggling against yourself to be consistent. You have to be consistent, like the seed, remember? And it's not going to be easy. And that's why the scholars have referred to stage 2 as something known as a hal, which means it's a stage of fluctuation. It's not an integral part of you yet. Some days you're consistent, some days you're not. Some days you forget, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you feel a little bit overwhelmed, etc. It's not a fixed state. But if you're able to pull through and you're consistent, stage 3 is where you're finally able to achieve the maqam. And this is when the maqam has deeply transformed you to the point where it's now an integral part of you. You act upon it automatically. It becomes your paradigm, your norm. Does that make sense? And so each and every maqam follows these 3 stages. Knowledge about it, then you enter the hal where you're applying the knowledge, and then you achieve the maqam after years of practice and consistency. And with all of that said, there is one more thing that I want to speak about today, and that is known as karamat al-awliya. Now, do you guys remember when I said that if you apply maqam after maqam, you become one of the awliya of Allah, the close friends of Allah? When you achieve that status, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala might open doors for you that are not open to any other people. And oftentimes these doors that Allah opens, these occurrences, they're usually supernatural. They break the laws of physics. And we know this because the Quran is jam-packed with examples. This is not from me. This is not fairy tale. These things happen to the people that are close to Allah. They're so close to Allah that Allah has blessed them with things that other people don't have. So for example, in the story of Maryam and Zakaria, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, كُلَّمَا دَخَلَ عَلَيْهَا زَكَرِيَّا الْمِحْرَابَ وَجَدَ عِنْدَهَا رِزْقًا. Whenever Zakaria would visit Maryam alayhi salam in her place of worship, he found her supplied with provisions. And these provisions were fruits of the summer during the winter and fruits of the winter during the summer. Meaning when Zakaria would go into Maryam and visit her in the summer, he would find with her fruits of the winter. And whenever he would enter in the winter, he would find with her fruits of the summer. Meaning this is something unexplainable. It breaks the laws of physics. Where have you got these fruits from? And this is one of the karamat that Allah has given Maryam because of her special station with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Another example of karamat al-awliya is one that we should be reading every week. And that is the people of the cave. And these people of the cave, as you guys know, had such a strong relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that they literally ran away from their hometown, fleeing from death only because they believed in Allah. All they had to do to avoid death was to just disbelieve in Allah, to denounce Allah. But instead they chose the path of hardship and they ran away for their lives and they left their own home, they left their friends, they left everything. So what happens when they run away? Allah made them sleep for 300 years. وَلَبِثُوا فِي كَهْفِهِمْ 300 سِنِينَ وَازْدَادُوا 9. They remained in their cave sleeping for 300 years, adding 9. Subhanallah. And during their long sleep, Allah even broke more laws of physics for them. وَتَرَى الشَّمْسَ إِذَا طَلَعَتْ تَزَاوَرُ عَنْ كَهْفِهِمْ ذَاتَ الْيَمِينِ وَإِذَا غَرَبَتْ تَقْرِضُهُمْ ذَاتَ الشِّمَالِ وَهُمْ فِي فَجْوَةٍ مِّنْهِ. And as the sun rose, it inclined away from the caves to the right, and as it set, it declined away from them to the left whilst they lay in the open space. Meaning Allah literally bent the rays of light away from them so that they could rest in their sleep. And as the light was bending, many other things happened too. وَتَحْسَبُهُمْ أَيْقَاظًا وَهُمْ رُقُودٌ. And you would have thought that they were awake, but they were asleep. So when people would pass by and they would look at this cave, the people would look at them and they would think that they're awake so that they wouldn't go up to them and bother them in their sleep. So Allah bent the reality for the people walking past as well. They think that they're awake, but actually they're asleep. And then Allah says, وَنُقَلِّبُهُمْ ذَاتَ الْيَمِينِ وَذَاتَ الشِّمَالِ. We turn them over left and right as they slept, so that their bodies are preserved. Because if you sleep in the same position for a very long time, what's going to happen to your body? It's going to be destroyed. The weight is going to pull down. The gravity is going to break the body, right? So Allah made them toss and turn in their sleep, right and left, throughout these 300 years so that He can preserve their bodies. And then He said, وَكَلْبُهُمْ بَاسِطٌ ذِرَاعَيْهِ بِالْوَصِيدِ لَوْ اطَّلَعْتَ عَلَيْهِمْ لَوَلَّيْتَ مِنْهُمْ فِرَارًا وَلَمُلِئْتَ مِنْهُمْ رُعْبًا. And their dog stretched their legs in the entrance like this. And had you guys walked past and looked at them, as Allah says in the Quran, you would have been filled with horror and you would have run away from them. Meaning, when you look at these people who are just sleeping peacefully, Allah created this reality where when you look at them, they just look so terrifying that you don't even want anything to do with them. You're not even going to mention it to anyone. And so you run away. You keep it to yourself. Khalas, it's so scary, I'm going to keep it to myself. Also that Allah can protect them in their sleep and save them from the tyrants that were out to kill them because they were awliya of Allah. You see? Subhanallah. And these awliya aren't just people of the past, characters in the Quran. These awliya, these friends of Allah, they exist in the world today. And many of them have karamat as well, like the ones that we've mentioned. So for example, if you remember right in the beginning of the program, one of the first lessons, we spoke about a famous scholar in Mauritania who was pretty much disabled. And this is a real man. This is the teacher of one of the shuyukh of the world today. And he was pretty much disabled, can't move. And when it was time for prayer, his sons would carry him to the mosque. And as soon as the Imam says Allahu Akbar and starts the prayer, this man, this pretty much fully disabled man, regains total control of his body and he prays a beautiful prayer. Fully, perfect ruku', perfect standing, perfect sujood. And as soon as the Imam says Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah, disabled comes back. He falls back down and his sons carry him back home. This is a karama. You can't explain these things. He's disabled. Clinically, he's disabled. How is he getting up to pray? Do you get what I'm saying? And subhanAllah, when I was studying this book that I'm teaching you guys right now in Mauritania, my sheikh also told me of a man, and I'm going to mention it to you. So this has come from my sheikh, and I'm giving it to you. He told me of a man in the community who was known by the people in that community. And he was a very, very simple man. And he was actually very, very poor. And there's a lot of poverty in Mauritania. And he was known, and people would literally sit there in the mosque watching him. He was known to come into the mosque and pray a beautiful 2 units of prayer. Imagine this. You're watching someone, he's praying, there's khushu', there's everything. As soon as he would finish the prayer, he would walk to the corner of the mosque and he would pick up the mat and there would be money there. And he would just take that money and he would leave. Just walk out of the mosque like that with money in his hand. And he would repeat that again and again, and the people would look at him. And the community knew that no one's leaving any money there. Well, how is he doing this? But he would just come in, he would pray, he'd go to the corner, lift up the mat, take up the money. Subhanallah. And so you could say that this is one of the karamat as well, something that doesn't make sense. Literally the laws of physics being broken just so that this man is provided for by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The point is that any one of us can become one of the awliya of Allah. It doesn't matter if you're rich, doesn't matter if you're poor, doesn't matter if you're young, doesn't matter if you're old. Anyone can become one of the awliya of Allah. And if you become one of the awliya of Allah, very likely you may end up seeing karamat in your life, just as the karamat that we've mentioned. And these karamat come in all sorts of shapes and sizes. For example, some people might have the karama of whenever they lift their hands to the sky, Allah gives them the result of that, their dua. Whatever they want, Allah gives them the answer to their dua. This is a karama. Another karama could be that Allah gives you a very special understanding of His deen. Like when you hear them speak about the Quran, speak about the life of the Prophet ﷺ, you just extract gems from that person that you've never heard anywhere else. Another karama is that You are someone who enjoys worshipping Allah and you never get bored of it. There's nothing better in this dunya to you than worshipping Allah. It's just such a sweetness. This is a karama, you see? And at the root of all of that is achieving the maqamat. And so I really hope after everything that I've said that you guys are ready to take this part of the program seriously. And bi'idhnillah ta'ala, with that said, we are ready to get started with the maqamat.